Okay, so in this video I will be showing you how I draw anime and manga eyes and what kind of structure goes into those. Okay, so let's start with the very basics, and the very first thing that I do is that I draw 4 lines. Okay, but as I'm using Clip Studio Paint and I have this symmetrical ruler, it's easier and faster for me to do it. Okay, so that's almost there. So it should be roughly the same length. Okay, so these are all the same length. Okay, so that's kind of like the rule I use when I draw my anime and manga eyes. Okay, so the next step is that I start at the left. So the general rule is that the eye should be inside these rules. Okay, so let's start. First I will draw the upper eyelashes, and I tend to go from left down corner, so to say, to the upper right corner. This little curve comes there. Then I draw slightly downward to the right side and then back left. Okay, and these shapes or forms or lines form the upper eyelashes. And the way I usually draw kind of like these, you know, the details in the eyelashes, I align these to that angle or to this cross section or whatever that is called. I align it with that, then yet again downward, and then another eyelash like that. We can just, you know, color it a bit, or, you know, just there we go. Now we have the upper eyelashes and they look pretty nice. The next step is that I will be connecting the lower eyelid and the upper eyelid together. And this is a continuous style I'm using. So yeah, as you can see, we have the lower eyelid. I didn't make any, you know, I didn't make it thick. It's pretty thin. And then I just add some eyelashes. I usually draw 3, I don't know why. It's kind of like my thing, I guess. I could even draw there some eyelashes. Okay. So now we have the basic structure, and as you can see, the length from this to that is pretty much the same, and it creates the rule like that. Okay. Next step is to draw the iris. I will just draw it to the middle. Sometimes you see that people draw oval shaped iris, but when I'm using continuous style and and drawing amateur anime manga eyes, then I'm using, you know, circle. There we go. Looks pretty good. Okay, then I just, thicken these lines a bit just to make it more, aesthetic, like that. And if you don't have Clip Studio Paint, it's okay. Just, draw one eye at a time and maybe even copy that to the other side, if that's your thing. If you are drawing on pencil and paper, with pencil and paper, then you have a bit more work to do. But the principle is always the same. Just divide it to 3 even shapes, or you can see these as squares or like that. So yeah, okay. Then I will remove the ruler for a second and draw the highlights like that, and then erase the parts that shouldn't be there, like that. Sometimes I emphasize the lower edge of the highlight just to make it more, kind of like 3D, or it's just a thing that I sometimes use. I think it brings the highlights to another level, like that. And there you go. Pretty nice looking anime and manga eyes. And it wasn't too hard. It might be when you are first starting out, for sure. So anything you do at the first time, it's always hard. But the more you do, the easier it will become. Okay, so that's all there is. Like, I did use the very basic structure, if you want to go through it once again. So, sorry. Just think of these as, these squares. It's the width of the eye, and when it's the same, it will create a very aesthetic looking eyes. So that's it for drawing the anime and manga eyes. Hopefully you'll now kind of like know how I do those or draw those, and as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. So a few things to keep in mind is that aligning these, and don't forget this. It usually creates a very good looking anime eyes. But yeah, that's kind of like the oval shaped eye, almond shape. And yeah, that's it. So hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next. Thanks. Okay, so in this video I will be showing you how I draw the nose. So this is a continuation to the last video where I drew the eyes. So now we will move on to drawing the nose. And it will be pretty simple because there's not too much to draw. But there's a few things I want to show you. So the very first thing that I do is I draw a triangle, and these lines should be roughly the same length for each. Okay, and this little triangle creates the structure on where to place the nose. Now I have it in the wrong layer. I have to go back. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So let's draw it again, just so you know or see. It goes roughly there, somewhere around like there. Okay. Then I draw the nose, and it's just a few little dots, and that's that. Like, there's really nothing special here. If you want to kind of like, how would I say, emphasize that structure, you can draw a straight line like that, And that's it. That's how you draw a nose. So it's pretty simple, but I would say the main thing to keep in mind is the placement of the nose. You can draw it lower, upper, you know, it will create a different structure for the face. But all in all, it's not so, you know, important where the nose is, but this is kind of like one way to do it. So draw the triangle and that's it. That's the way I draw nose or place the nose. And as in anime and manga, we don't have to draw too much details if we don't want to. In this example, I didn't draw anything else than just 2 nostrils or dots. Okay, so that's it for this video and I will see you in the next one. Okay, welcome to the video about how to draw mouth for your anime and manga face, and this will be a very quick tutorial on how I draw the mouth. As you can see, we have the same drawing yet again. There is a video for how to draw the eyes, how to draw the nose, and now we draw the mouth. And the way I draw mouth is that I tend to place in my mind this little square which will create the upper lip like that. Okay, then I will draw the actual shape for the mouth. So in anime and manga we can draw just a line, you know, like this, and that would be just fine. Okay, but I will just draw a small opening and then the lower lip. And there we go. One thing you should notice is that I tend to align these together. So the edges of the lips are aligned with the tear canal. I don't know what this called, but anyway, the place where the tears come from. I'm not that kind of like artist that's too deep to anatomy. I use reference images and draw my own. But yeah, that's the thing how I approach. But yeah, that's how I draw a mouth. So upper lip, lower lip, and if you want to, you can make the upper lip maybe just a bit smaller in comparison for the upper lip. I usually draw upper lip a bit smaller than the lower lip. I don't know why, but it just makes it, I don't know, more pleasing to the eye. But yeah, that's how I draw the mouth. So as you can see, we are slowly structuring the face. So in the end, we have a beautiful, beautiful anime and manga face. But that's all for how to draw the mouth. So yeah, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, so in this video, we will continue the drawing that we've been drawing all along. And in this video, I will be drawing the structure of the face and the head. It will be kind of like when you're drawing a, you know, front view facing face, front view face. We don't even have the eyebrows yet, but anyway, it's okay. We can add those soon. So how I kind of like approach this is that I divide the face to 4. Let's see if I can even draw a. Okay, so 4 from there. Then we have like there, and this should be like the chin should be roughly here. Now we can already see that it's a bit squint, like the features are a bit too like together, like too close to each other. Yeah, that's the thing. So let's move those a bit down like that. Then let's see how it changes. So that distance just changed a bit more. So we have to change this too. Okay. So it should be roughly here. Okay. Yeah, that looks a bit better already. Okay, so as you can see, if you are drawing on pencil and paper, it might not be so nice to draw everything again, but the eyes are always the most complex thing to draw than the face structure. So hopefully you are using digital tablets, which makes the whole drawing process so much easier. But yeah, let's mark that chin there. Oh, had a little, roughly there. Okay, so that's the chin. Then what I usually do is that I start with the side, near where the ears will be. I won't be drawing the ears yet. So first I will just draw the structure. And as you can see, I'm, going towards the mouth. Like that. Here's the, I think, chin bone. Yeah, that's there, and then the chin, like that. This actually looks super good already, but as you can see, it feels a bit weird. It feels like it's missing something. And the thing you should notice is that the reason why it feels so weird is because it isn't balanced. Okay? You might be saying like, well, you are drawing in a mirror, kind of like mirror, using a mirror. So mirroring everything to the left and to the right when you're drawing just one side. That's because I love Clip Studio Paint's symmetrical ruler. It just, makes everything so much easier and, more than anything, faster. Like that. So we are molding the face slowly, and as you can see, the chin and cheekbones just work together very nicely. If you want to, you can slightly do a, a curve here, like that. And then we can just, erase the parts that we don't want, and like that. We have a pretty narrow face, so you could be like, well, I don't like that, so just draw a bit more to it, like that. And there we go. Now, as I said before, you might be like, oh, well, it doesn't feel good, like it just doesn't look good. And it's because it doesn't have the balance. And the balance is created with the ears. So next we draw the ears. And the way I draw ears is that I start the ears roughly at this corner here. So the edge of the eye. Okay? So that's where I start the ears. And as we are drawing front view, we are something like that. Okay. And when you think like, where should I end that point? It's roughly here with the nose, where the nose is, where the nose ends. Okay, so that's the point where you push the end of the ear. Okay, then what we do is define the ear a bit more. So I will be drawing the overall shape, then the Y shape, like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, precise. We are, after all, drawing anime and manga, which is all about aesthetics, simplification, and just, making things look awesome. So I will fix that a bit. Sorry. Like that, and it looks pretty good. Doesn't have to be perfect, though I usually aim for perfection, but you shouldn't. And then you might be like, why shouldn't I when you are? It could hold you back. Okay, now we have a very beautiful face for your anime and manga character. Then we draw the eyebrows. And it's usually, I tend to, how would I say, it's like, if we say that the eyes are like ruled like that, then this would be roughly the same. So that's where the eyebrow starts. So it would be like what, 1/4, sorry, 1/3, like that, roughly like that. So it's yet again, it's not too precise. Don't feel like you should draw everything precisely, though I tend to draw, but that's kind of like my style. And to be honest, I kind of like, I don't know, sketching is not my thing. I usually draw things to a completion like right away. Okay, then I switch the ruler off so I can create different eyebrows for each side. And the reason is that this little trick will make the image look not so symmetrical, because symmetrical, even though it looks nice, it just doesn't look too good in art. So there should be some, changes. Maybe even do a little, like that. And then just erase the parts you don't want to include to your drawing. And here we go. You have a very good looking anime face, and we don't even have the hair yet. So, but as you can see, it already works. And if you didn't watch the how to draw anime eyes, anime and manga eyes, do watch that as I go through how I drew the eyes, then the nose, then the mouth, and now we are drawing the face and the head. And next we draw the hair, obviously. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Now you could be like, but yeah, the ears are a bit big. Then make them smaller, If you are drawing in digital, like I do now, things are like, it's easy to fix things. So don't be afraid to fix parts that you don't like. Like, it's easy. And this is the reason why I use digital tablets, because I just can't draw with those regular, like traditional way anymore. And I usually align these like the neck, when I'm drawing neck. But in this case, I could draw it a bit bigger. It doesn't align precisely with the pupils. Usually I do that, but in this case, not precisely with the the pupils. And there we go. Looking pretty good. But next we will be drawing the hair and we'll see how it goes. Now we have kind of like the base structure. I could draw the eyes a bit smaller because I just feel like it. Like I don't know why, but I just have a feeling like it should be a bit smaller, like tighter. Okay, so let's move those a bit down. Not too much, just a... Yep, that did it. So I kind of like, I'm aiming for a kind of like this sensual feeling. Like this. Okay, but yeah, I guess we should go and draw the hair. But yeah, there you go. I think it looks pretty good. Maybe just fix a bit of that just to make it a bit more realistic. Okay, and then erase those parts, and then yeah. Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah, but that's all for how to draw the anime and manga face and head structure and how I approach it. So yet again, the general rule I use is that I divide it on 4. There we go. So 4, roughly the same, and this will already mark our hairline. Okay, there you go. That's all what I have for you now. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Hi there. This video will be all about how to draw anime and manga hair, and as you can see we have the same face that we already did before in the last videos, and if you haven't checked those yet, I suggest that you check those first because we draw the eyes, nose, mouth and the whole structure of the face, also the eyebrows, and in this video we will be drawing the hair. So let's get started. As I showcased you on the last video with the head and face structure, we already defined where the hair starts. So let's start from there. Wrong pencil. Right? It's okay. So I will just, draw the few lines there just to show you how to kind of like how I approach. So now we have the hair. There we go. Done. I won't be drawing anything special, just a very simple hair, but you kind of see it soon. Okay, so what I tend to do first is that I have an idea of what kind of hair I would like to draw, and then I just draw the major shapes, and this is that face. Not face, but phase. Okay, so it's not so easy for me to say those differently. Okay, but anyway, okay, so here's the major shape that I have in mind. So it will be a kind of like, I wouldn't say ball, but it's close to a ball shape of the hair. And as we know, the hair is on top of the head and not, it's like I cannot start the hair from here. It wouldn't make any sense. And now I'm drawing in the wrong layer, which is also a bummer. Okay, so let's back a bit. Thankfully, Clip Studio Paint has a very long memory. Let's draw hair on another layer. Like that. Then we erase these. Sorry for making this small mistake. Like that. And then draw again. Okay, so bam, bam. There we go. then the structure. Yeah, that looks super awesome. Okay, so as you can see, it's a very nice structure. There we have a kind of like the tilting point, and then we have that's the structure. Now I will be molding it further. Because we don't want to make the hair symmetrical, you shouldn't use symmetrical ruler. However, I will keep this as a reference and take another layer. Or should I even draw it on a... Maybe I'm brave enough and draw it on the original layer. So I can erase the head. Okay, so let's start. So I have a reference image beside me on another screen, which I will... It's an old drawing that I've drawn before, so it's kind of like my own idea anyway. Yeah, here we go. So here's the center line we have, where the hair is kind of like divided. And then we draw and just begin the drawing part. So first, as you could see, I have the major shape aligned or done. Then I will be drawing. It's actually annoying me a bit, so I will cut those back a bit more. Okay, just so it won't be so, you know, distracting me from doing the actual hair. Even though you can see like I'm drawing very in a detailed way, don't worry, you don't have to be so detailed or detail oriented. I tend to be a bit, so yeah. Then we draw the upper part of the head, just the major shape, so we know where the kind of like the limits are, because you don't want to draw it like that, like this. Then it would be kind of like off. It wouldn't look too good. Then let's draw a bit more, but as you can see, we just have to kind of like define that flow for the hair. And this is where it kind of like starts. Center line is kind of like annoying yet again, so let's erase that and then draw the, you know, the shape, all the major shapes. As you can see, there's not too much details yet. Also, I want to do a kind of like this kind of like thing here, so I will just define it a bit more. Like that. Then we can erase this because it doesn't look good there. And you might be like, I don't know if that looks good. It doesn't have to look good at this point. It's okay if it doesn't look any good, or if it doesn't look good. It's totally fine. You are, after all, you are just sketching and doing the the ideation for the hair anyway, so it's not like you are completely defining it already. It's just, getting that flow in and seeing what works and what doesn't work, creating different strokes. Like you could see here, I create this thing, and as we want to balance things, you could do it on the other side, but it's a bit different, like that. You want to build up that volume for the hair, and we are doing just that, building that volume, defining the shapes, also finding the shapes, not just defining, but also finding the shapes. Okay. Like that. You can see, you can already see that it's starting to come alive. And just for the record, the reference image doesn't look anything like this. So I don't know if it was any use, but then again, I usually, well, more than often, or how would I say, usually never draw the reference image just like I see it. So I always change the elements quite massively just to make sure that it doesn't look like something that has been created before. As we are creating something new, we don't want to create something that has already been created, because that wouldn't make any sense. Because what's the point of drawing something that's already been drawn? When you are practicing, that's another thing, but we are not practicing here. Or you could be practicing, and I'm practicing in a way, but then again, I'm also drawing something to a completion. So you can see it's starting to evolve and even look good. But as we all know, drawing something to a completion requires time, effort, and hard work. So, and as you can see, I'm flipping the canvas horizontally. As you could see, I was kind of like mixing horizon, but horizontally, and it enables me to see if the image is balanced, if it works in both sides. So, you know, centered canvas, flip it from one side to another. As you can see, this little thing creates off balance. So I would like to counter that, but just a bit. So we could create something like that. I think that's already quite good. Maybe even I should just slightly not so much, show a bit less. Okay, I think that does it. And as you can see, this was all about balancing the features so that it looks good. Yeah. So what else? Now we are, you know, we have defined the hair a bit more. It's still not complete. It needs a bit more time. I could actually erase those parts from there. So we don't have those like that. Looks pretty good. Maybe a bit of, you know. Okay. Yeah, I think that looks quite good. I still kind of like, I'm not sure if the shape of the face works for me. It's totally fine. Maybe even we could try and increase the volume of the hair by just doing a small little trick. That wasn't what I meant to do. And a bit more. Okay, let's see if it works or not. So I will be increasing the size of the hair. So I feel like it could be a bit bigger. And this is yet again the beauty of drawing in digital, because you can do that easily. I think it looks quite good. Maybe a bit weird. I think it's quite good. Maybe it should be a bit higher, like the hair you know. I don't know. I think that's quite good. It could be better for sure. That's kind of like how it goes. It's improving, improving and improving, seeing what works, what doesn't work, and then just go with it. Could be a bit off, you know. Maybe we should add a few things. So let's add a bit of volume to the sides. And now it works so much better. Now we'll just use the ruler tool just to, you know, get the shape there, so I know where to go from. Okay, I think this works so much better. But yeah, that's kind of like how I built the hair anyway. So trial and error most of the time. As you could see, it was just, you know, developing the hair. I wasn't like, you know, I didn't draw it like in a way that you know, just line, and yeah, now it's perfect. Like it, no, I kind of like, it was by doing different things, trying out different things. That's the way I draw anyway. So just trying and trying, and I still want to fix the face. For some reason I just don't, you know, it's quite there, but it just lacks something. I'm not sure what. For some reason it just doesn't, you know. Let's try adding an eyelash. Like that would do the thing. Maybe even lower that. You know, subtle changes here and there, they make a difference. Now I like it. Now it's so much better. It could still be a bit better, so maybe I will fix this a bit like that. And now it looks superb. Like that. Okay. So yeah, that's how I draw hair. And as you could see, I drew a bit more than just the hair. I fixed the eyes a bit. I fixed the cheek, not the cheek, chin bone, and also just, you know, developed the image in many ways. But yeah, the most important thing to notice here is that I drew the image in steps for sure. But one thing you should notice is that while I did draw the hair, I also fixed few elements here and there, because it's always a complete image, a complete drawing. So you are not just drawing hair, then you are drawing, you know, something else like clothes. It has to, you know, all of the components have to fit together. And that's the reason why you should, you know, fix parts that you don't like in the image. In this example, I drew the hair, but then I noticed that it just didn't work for me. So I slightly changed the eyes. I slightly changed the jawline. But yeah. Okay, the very first technique that you can use, and this is kind of like the very basic technique that you can use, is the paint bucket tool. So the only thing that you have to do is select the fill tool, or if you are using Adobe Photoshop, there's a paint bucket tool. You can find this tool from any art software available, or at least I think every art software should have this. Okay, so just select the paint bucket tool and then just apply the paint. So yeah, just like this. So as you can see, it's a very fast process, and if you have little, I wouldn't say mistakes, but some few things here and there, you can just use the brush to clean up those few things. Okay, that's that. Then we can move on to the next layer, which would be the eye white. And then you just select another color and hit the paint bucket tool, or use paint bucket tool, and there we go. Then select the iris, same thing, and last the hair and the eyebrows. And a very quick way to color these hair, for example, and this is kind of Clip Studio Paint specific feature, but you can just, hold it down and then drag, and it will just fill all the spots that you want, like that. Then if you have any, as you can see, there's this white space coming from below, you can just use brush tool to fix those little things here and there. And that's it. There's really nothing to it. Paint bucket is a very fast way to color your drawings. Now let's move on to the second tip, and this is a kind of like a special tip that I use very often with Clip Studio Paint, but I think you can use this on Adobe Photoshop or in any other art software. So let's begin. So this is very useful when you are shading, but I think you can apply this technique to many different things. So what you do is actually just draw the outer lines of what you will be shading, and this is a very quick way to shade, but also color. And then we just drop down the colors like that. As you can see, it's a very quick way to color your drawings. So you only draw the outer line and that's it, nothing else. And then yet again, if you have any few mistakes here and there, just go over them with a brush. Okay, so third tip would be to use a lasso tool. And if you are using Adobe Photoshop, you can find the lasso tool from there too. Okay, so what we do is just, and this is very effective especially when, either shading or coloring hair. And then you just hit the fill. If you're using Adobe Photoshop, it's a bit different process, but the technique and the principle is the same. So you fill what's inside the selection. So you're creating a selection with the lasso tool. And even if you wouldn't do cell shading, you can still block out the main shadows and then start the blending process. As you can see, it's a very fast process to put those colors down. So yeah, next I will finalize the shading and then we move on to the next step. Okay, so another quick way to color your layers is to create a solid color layer on top of the base color layer like this, and then what you do is just open the solid color layer and then just start to pick different colors. As you can see, this is a very fast way to try out different color schemes and trying to find that perfect, colors that you are aiming for. As you can see, this is a very fast way to see what kind of colors would work the best with the drawing. And you can even select very precisely the color that you are looking for. And even if you don't do cell shading, you'll still use this method to create those base colors quickly and then move on to either cell shade the drawing or just blend in the colors. Moving on to another tip, there's an adjustment layer that you can use very quickly to get some nice looking colors to your drawing. So what you do is create another layer, adjustment layer, and then choose the gradient map, and then just pick different colors to get a nice looking color scheme. For example, this color scheme looks super good, so I could already go with this and then just post it to Instagram. Another way to quickly color your drawings is to lock the transparent pixels, meaning that all the pixels that have something inside them will be affected and the ones that do not have anything won't be affected. So that's the first thing you do, and then you just get yourself the color wheel. And what I have done is to use the fill tool. I have assigned a keyboard shortcut to it, and for me it's F, and what I do is just press the F, and then I will just try to find a good looking color scheme for the drawing. Like this. So as you can see, it was a pretty fast way to get those colors to the layers. And as I have said before, you can either go with the gradual style or painterly style and go from here, or then if you are doing cell shading, then you can just leave it here and then advance with your drawing. One cool way to change your colors, and this might be a bit more cell shade specific technique, but here we go. Okay, so you copy the base color layer and then you switch it to the shading layer like this. As you can see, the shading, and you create a clipping mask, so it will affect the shading layer. So as you can see, the shading changed its color, and now you can change the color on the shading layer specifically. So you can create a different color scheme for the hair shading. And for example, for the skin, we can do the same thing. Just copy the layer, do a clipping mask, and then change the color of the skin layer like this. And if you want to be very organized and fast with your coloring, and this might be a bit more cell shade specific, is that you keep the original layer intact and only draw on that layer. So for example, if I want to add a shadow here, I can do that and it will still get the color from the skin layer. And if you have changed colors, for example for red, it still keeps the color because the color comes from the skin layer. Here's another cool way to color your layers, and while this could be yet again a bit more like cell shade specific, still it could be some use to you. Okay, so pick a color and have the base color layer active, and then create another layer on top of it, clipping mask to it, and then start the coloring. And as you can see, it will only affect the hair layer, and the other skin layer and the eye layer and all the other layers are intact and won't be getting the color at all. So rather than using just your brush to do the coloring, you can use these different tools to create a very quickly the color scheme you're looking for, and you can fill the drawing and the base colors with either with the paint bucket tool, or then use a something like lasso tool to get those colors down. Now, if you like the tips and the techniques that I showed you, do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and yeah, maybe even hit that notification bell. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, I will see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.